Good morning and welcome to the Oasis Center for Spiritual Living, where we come together as one, providing spiritual tools for daily living. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Reverend Tucker. I'm the senior minister here at the Oasis. And let me move this down. That's part of the problem here. We had some challenges this morning with the software, so just bear with me a little bit. Okay. And so I always like to introduce this team that God has gifted me with. And let me start out with Faith, my faithful assistant. Faith has basically been my assistant since the day she was born. Her dad would work the soundboard, and he would have her in one hand and work the soundboard in the other hand. And then at some point she was able to crawl, and she crawled right up on stage like she belonged there. So we decided to just leave her up there. So I would step over her as I was speaking. It was quite humorous, actually. But and then we would put her on the podium, so she would do announcements with me. So I feel like everybody paid more attention that you were up there. But she grew up like 6 blocks from my house. So when she was 14 and a half and said, I want a real job, I'd seen her work because, we have a project house always. And so I said, oh, come work for me in my ozone business. So she became my assistant there. And when we went live during the pandemic with our church services, she became my official ministerial assistant. She's also our soloist. And today she's going to be doing My Religion is Kindness by Karen Drucker. And so you're going to love what we have in store for you today. So she's the one that answers you if you say hi, good morning, hello, which is the way we prefer it, because when we're in a facility, I can look out and see the faces beaming back at me, and I get energy from that. Well, here I get a number. I don't even get names. So we like it if you say hi, hello, good morning. She will answer as me, and then she can answer any questions that you have as well. I go back later and look just to make sure that, there isn't some question that isn't answered. So, but that's only happened like a couple of times in the last 4 years. So, she's like my other brain, or my other half of my brain. I'm not sure why. Thank you, Faith, for being here. I love you. All right. And the wise and powerful Oz has been with me since 1998, when we first opened the Denver Church of Religious Science. And then when I opened Oasis, he was my board president at that time, and helped with all of that, helped us get started, and was my board president for many, many years. He's my first baby practitioner, meaning he took all of his classes with me. And then he moved off to Florida, and we lost the ability to have him in the service. But now, with this new technology, he can be here. So he is our practitioner of the day, which means that he does the invocation and the benediction, and he's available at the end for what we call our 1-minute miracle. So thank you so much for being here. I love you, Oz. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry I've been gone so long. As Faith has told you, my husband, Reverend Lynn, passed away about 6 weeks ago. So it's good to be back. Happy Easter, everyone. Bear with me because I get a little emotional here and there. So hopefully the Easter topic, resurrecting our spiritual practices, will allow me to go ahead and speak without too much emotion. So let's see, there's a watch party button. So if you want to invite your friends to see what kind of church service they can expect, you hit that watch party button and invite them all, and you can talk back and forth because it's a private chat. So that helps to answer any questions they might have. And I think that's it. Yes. Okay. So I invite you to close your eyes if that feels comfortable. Allow the service to uplift and inspire you as we move into our centering song.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can feel the rush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
Presence of God. For God as we consider it is in all things as all things. For if God is infinite, if God is eternal, and God is ever present, God must be right here, right now. And that means in me, in you, and in all things, and all that we encounter, even the invisible cat here. And I know that God's presence moves through all points in our lives, at all times in our lives, and its presence unfolds before us and upholds and uplifts us through every experience, creating it as we go along. The track is laid as the train is coming through. I know that there are blessings that are possible and that are inconceivable to us, but in that greater presence of God, all things come true in the miraculous form of existence itself. I know this is a very good thing, and I give thanks to be part of it. And I let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you very much. I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, all of a sudden I can't make the computer work this morning. So it's okay. I'm getting there. All right. Let's see. This next song is written by Reverend Fairy Elaine Silver when she was in practitioner training. And it's a really great reminder how connected we are all to all of life. So if you know the words, sing it loud and sing it proud. If you don't know the words, learn them. It's a great meme to get stuck in your head. And it also helps us remember how connected we really are.
We are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. I hear it and know it, my being. Spirit is all I am seeing. For God is all there is. Grateful am I to be living, open to what I have seen, honoring what I've been given, sharing now what I believe. I remember the oneness around me. I surrender to infinite light, knowing the love that's surrounding me is within me by day and night. And we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it. Yes, we are all one. We are all one. We are all one in it.
Yes, we are all one in it. What a great reminder. I know that sometimes it's easy to forget that we are all connected, but we definitely are. So say hi, hello, good morning, however you want to greet us. Let us know that you're here. In a facility, I can look out and see the shining faces beaming back at me. Here I get a number, no names or anything. So just greet us. Let us know that you're here. If you're visiting later, just drop us a line and say, hey, I was here, or hi, however you want to do that. And if you like something that you hear, whether it's something I say or Faith sings or Oz, thank you, I love that, or Oz praise, by all means, use the like button. And if you love something that you hear, send us hearts because we love to get love. And if something is really strikes you as really powerful, something that is said, please use the wow button. That feedback helps us to determine when we're on track. So participate with us in that, please. All right, without further ado, here is Faith singing My Religion is Kindness from Karen Drucker.
Religion is kindness, my church is nature, my God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to give conscience, my path is forgiveness, my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Everyone has a story, everyone has pain. When we strip away our masks, we find we really are the same. Those little things we say and do that can mean so much. It's a smile of connection, a simple love in touch. My religion is kindness, my church is nature, my God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious, my path is forgiveness, my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Today I'm gonna ask myself, what more can I do to be a radiant child of God and let my love shine through? I'm gonna give my heart to my God to give the best of me. I'm gonna share my joy, share my love, give it boundlessly. Let me seek these kindness. My church is nature, my God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to be conscious, my path is forgiveness, my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Then Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came running after. She said, Jill, tell me, what can I do to help you ease your mind? He said, hold my hand and just be kind, and you know I will be fine. My religion is kindness, my God is a feeling that lives deep inside. The job is to stay conscious, my path is forgiveness, my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Religion is kindness, church is nature, my God is a feeling that lives deep inside. My job is to stay conscious, my path is forgiveness, my religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. Religion is kindness, and I practice it every day. My religion is kindness, and I'm gonna practice it every day.
Thank you, Faith. One of the reasons I picked that song is because I think that when we talk about Easter, so many of us are raised in traditional religions, and it's kind of a different, our philosophy is a little bit different. For instance, last year, my assistant in my ozone business at the time, I said something about Good Friday, and she said, yeah, you can really feel the darkness. And I didn't understand the comment at first. I was like, what do you mean? And she talked about how there was such a darkness that came over the world during the 3 days before Jesus' resurrection. And I started thinking about that because the world is kind of dark right now, between the war in Ukraine and the COVID thing and, everything that's going on in Israel. And, we have an election year coming out. There seems like there's this darkness. And so I wanted something light and airy for the song today, not to mention the fact that, Faith has been able to do reruns, so she hasn't had to sing anything, and I don't want her getting emotional either. So I wanted her to have something that she could sing that was lighthearted. So we take a much more lighthearted approach to Easter. Happy Easter, if you're just joining. I want to talk about the resurrection of our spiritual practices, because what lifts us out of the darkness is those practices. And as long as we're consistent with it, we never really deep dive into all that darkness. Yes, we're aware of it. Yes, it pops up. It's pretty much everywhere you look right now, but we aren't as affected by it if we're keeping up with our spiritual practices. So there's 3 that I want to talk about today. There's quite a few more, but these are the 3 that I feel are the most powerful and the most important. The first one is affirmations. And those of you who've been around know that my idea is that we start out as babies with this smooth surface on our brain. And through repetition of tasks that we do, we create grooves in the brain that allow our synapses to fire faster. And so I bring this up because I learned this very late. That's not what I wanted. Sorry, hang on. I'm trying to play with this thing and it's not doing really well. And so my brother, my eldest brother, had a stroke in 2000, and it started in his left brain and crossed over midbrain and into his right brain. And he wasn't getting much better, so we called a friend of ours who had worked with Lynn at Craig Hospital. And her credentials were really interesting. Dr. Margaret Stannard. She wanted to become an MD, and she was one class away from that and decided she didn't want to be a doctor after all, that she wanted to do speech pathology. And so she was one of a handful of people across the world that had those credentials, and she would help people with situations like what my brother was in. And so she explained the MRIs to us. And as she's explaining the MRI, she's talking about how communication is left brain, but because his left brain was damaged, there's a possibility that we could train his right brain to take over the functions of communications. And as she was explaining that, she said, what we do is we create new neural pathways in the right brain that operate like the left brain does. And all of a sudden I had this big aha. I've been doing affirmations and teaching affirmations for years. And so I said, is this the way it works? Like you create these neural pathways by repetition? And she said, yes. And I said, so that's how affirmations work. And she says, you got it. And so I started teaching affirmations in a whole new way, because through repetition, our brain creates the grooves that allow those synapses to fire quicker and easier, which gives us ready access to the information. But the other thing that it does is it tricks our brain into thinking that's reality, right? So, for instance, when you go to a movie and there's a sad scene, it's fiction, right? But you still cry. You still get emotional because our mind cannot decipher between fact and fiction. And so we think it's real in that moment, not think, but feel like it's real. And so through the use of affirmations, we're doing that. We are allowing our brain to see the reality of the affirmations that we're doing as real. And that's what helps us to create the reality that we wish to have. And so that takes me to the type of affirmations we should be doing. In the Bible, when Moses was talking to the burning bush, who was God speaking, he said, who shall I tell the Pharaoh sent me? And the bush says, say the I am sent you. And from that, we realized that the I am is the most important affirmation you can do. Unfortunately, most of us do that affirmation incorrectly. We say, I'm tired. I am sick. I am whatever. And all that does is reaffirm that. So what we want to do instead is turn those into powerful statements of I am. For instance, I am prosperous. I am healthy. I am loved. Those kind of statements are what creates that reality for us. And we want to do it about 100 times a day. There's no magic formula. It's not like 100 times is actually going to create the reality, just simply because it's 100 times. But again, repetition is what creates those deep grooves. And so if we're doing the affirmation 100 times a day, then we're creating the grooves each time we do that, right? Deepening that groove, you know. So my favorite way to do all of that is this. These are mala beads. These were gifted to me. These are amethysts. These were gifted to me by Brooks and Bailey, who we talk about every Sunday. And there's 108 beads on here. So what happens is the Buddhists use the mala beads when they're doing their chants. They move one bead at a time and say the chant, and then move another bead and say the chant. So I found that it's very useful to keep track of how many times I'm doing my affirmation by using these little beads. And like I said, there's 108 beads on the necklace. There's 54 on the bracelet. So you could also do it that way. Another way to keep track of how many times you're doing it is to use playing cards. There's 52 cards in a deck. So you just do it twice. Go through, put a card down, say your affirmation. You know, there's other ways to keep track of how many times you're doing it. If you're really good at it, you can count it off on your fingers. Like when I'm in the tanning booth, that's what I do, because it distracts my mind. So I do my affirmations and I count off 10 times, and then I do as many times as I can through the tanning session, and then later on I do the rest of them. But I found different ways to be able to do your affirmations, to be able to make sure you're getting in your 100 a day. Now, the way affirmations work is that we present the subjective unconscious, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but we present the subjective unconscious with that affirmation. And if there's nothing to impede the progress of it, it will create. However, if we have something in our subjective mind that says, oh, that's not possible, or you can't do it that way, or whatever that, you know, for instance, let's say money is a perfect example. If you have been in poverty for 20 years, your subjective unconscious, which we call the computer of the mind, because it saves everything on a hard drive almost, all the experiences you've had and all the feelings you've had in response to that experience. And so it's stored in that subjective material. And so if you've been in poverty for 20 years, then your subjective unconscious has that experience as its basis. So when you start saying, I am now receiving $10,000 a month or more, the subjective material is going to jump up and say, no, you're not. You can't do that. And so we have to address that subjective material, right? So in the affirmation, we change our affirmation now to say, I do deserve, you know, or we change it to say, it is possible. You know, for instance, a lot of us believe that our source is our job or a trust fund or the lottery or something like that. God is our source and supply. So, and God's answer is always yes. So when we start doing that, when we start doing the affirmations and we change it to reflect the subjective material so that we retrain that part of our brain, then we can go back to the original affirmation. There was a lady back in I think it was the 80s, it might have been the 70s, named Sandra Ray. And she suggested that you do your affirmations in first, second, and third person. So you would say, I am now receiving $10,000 a month or more. You are now receiving $10,000 a month or more. She is now receiving $10,000 a month or more. And I don't think that you have to do that necessarily. But what was really powerful for my affirmation structuring was her teaching that said, you do it in one column, and as you get an objection to that affirmation, you write the objection down. Then you change the affirmation to do that, and you write it again, and then you do any objections you have, and you keep following those objections until you feel like you can say, without hesitation, I am now receiving $10,000 a month or more of income without any objections popping up, right? Now, it works that way whether we're talking about money or we're talking about love. Please understand that you can affirm for yourself, but you can never affirm for another person. We all have free will. So it's not like I can do an affirmation like I am now in a relationship with Charles, okay? Because Charles has free will. So we can't do that. So instead, we're going to say, I am now in a relationship that provides me with validation and where I feel loved and affection and all of that kind of stuff without mentioning a specific person. Because what we're doing is we're affirming for ourselves what our reality is going to be, right? And so with love, that's what you're going to do. With health, for example, we're not going to say, I'm now not experiencing, right? We want to keep them in the present tense, positive affirmations. So we would say, I am now experiencing perfect health. I can do anything that I want to do and without limitation, you see? And so that's kind of how we're going to do our affirmations. So whatever issue you're working with, make sure it is a positive affirmation, that it is in the now, as it's happening right now, or it has already happened, versus it will happen someday. That's not a very powerful affirmation. We're going to use the I am correctly, right? And so we're going to ask you to do that 100 times a day for a while and just see what happens in your life. Do the same affirmation unless you're adjusting it for subjective material that comes up and expresses an objection. The second form, or the second spiritual practice that I think is really, really important, is meditation. Now, with meditation, there's a lot of people out there that will tell you there's a specific way you have to do a meditation in order for it to be successful. The Buddhist tradition, for example, says you must get your body out of the way. And so you must suffer through the pain until you no longer experience the pain so that you can get your mind into spirituality and off of your body. I personally don't agree with that. My massage therapist, Hansa, and I used to have that discussion quite frequently because I believe that you can get to the spiritual and not address the physical. She believed that you had to address the physical before you could get to the spiritual. So we used to argue. And trust me, you don't want to argue with a massage therapist while they're massaging you. She would, and I'd be like, all right. So the way I teach meditation is very different than that. I don't think there's a way you have to hold your hands. I don't think there's a way you have to cross your legs. I don't think that you have to absolutely sit up straight, pull your head up, and feel like there's a connection coming down through. You can see I've done those kinds of meditations before. I don't find them any more powerful than any of the ones that I've done. The first one that I teach people, because I learned it in my first yoga class with Hansa, is the light meditation, where you either sit on the floor cross-legged with a lit candle in front of you, or if you can't sit cross-legged, you can sit at a table and you put the candle in front of you. You're going to stare at that flame for a minute. And then once you've completed that minute, you're going to put your hands over your eyes. Now, remember, you're not going to apply too much pressure, just a little bit of pressure. And after looking at that light for so long, you are going to see a little flame right here. And it's going to want to dance and move around and go away. And so what you're doing in the meditation is you're focusing on that flame and trying to keep it so it stays right there and it doesn't flicker and it doesn't move around and it doesn't disappear. Now, when you first start out, you try to do that for a minute. As you get better at it, you can expand the time that you are holding it. You never expand the time you're looking at the candle, but you can expand the time that you're viewing the flame in your third eye. I've only been able to master like 6 minutes. That's about it. I know there are people out there that can hold it a lot longer than I do, but I just, for some reason, I can't master that one. But I have increased it to about 6 minutes. I no longer do that meditation because I've evolved into other meditations, but But that's a good starting place for beginners, is just do that. What you're doing is you're training your mind to stay focused. And that's really the purpose of meditation in Buddhism and Hinduism and a lot of Christian meditation. And so our aim is not necessarily that. Our aim in meditation is to cultivate a relationship with the God within us. Again, we're not talking about a God out here. God flows through us just like we are watermarks on a page. The watermark doesn't impede the page's progress through it, nor does our body, our outline that we provide, impede the progress of God flowing through us. So it's the same God outside of us that is on the inside of us. In other words, we believe that God is absolutely everything. And because we believe that God is absolutely everything and everywhere, then God must be in and through us as well. So when I'm cultivating that relationship, I'm cultivating a relationship with something that is a spiritual power that lives within me. And what's important about cultivating that relationship every day is that when we get into situations like, I don't know, somebody's sick or something like that, and instead of us panicking, we can jump to center right away. Like during 9/11, I was able to pull together everybody in our congregation and our practitioners. We were all in a circle praying, and I said, jump to center. And our practitioners knew immediately jump to center meant activate that piece of you that you've been cultivating all of this time. So with meditation, there's so many ways you can meditate. One of my favorite place to meditate is in the bathtub. I just, I get it really, really hot. I either put bath salts or bubble bath or something in it, turn off all the lights, light a candle, and I sit there and just feel the feeling of what it's like to have a relationship with the God within me. And I can do that for quite a long time before I even start my prayers. But not everybody wants to spend that amount of time doing that. It's just my favorite thing to do. But also out on the patio, that's my second favorite, my front porch. I will sit out there in the summertime. Obviously, I can't do that in the winter, but it's such a calm place. And I'm secluded by all these trees, so nobody can really see me. And I just sit there and I just enjoy the feeling of the sun and enjoy the feeling of the warm air and enjoy the feeling of just being present in the moment with God. And then when I open my eyes, I have maybe 5 to 10 minutes of this altered awareness where I actually see the energy of the flowers. I actually see them like plumping up, like they're growing. I see the shimmer of the leaves on the tree. All of that is enhanced from me doing the meditation. And when you think about your appreciation of the world, when you're meditating and you come out of your meditation, you have this amazing appreciation for all that's around you. And that really leads to more creations of good, right? And so there's a book called The 5-Minute Meditator that suggests you do things like meditate in the line at the grocery store, meditate, just all these different things. One of my other favorites is to focus on a phrase or a word that is powerful for me. And I meditate on not only the word itself or the phrase itself, but the meaning it has to me and how it relates to my relationship with God. And I wind up in that relationship situation again. Another really good one is to let your mind sort of wander into, a realm that isn't possible here on this earth. Now, some people might call that dreaming. Some call it visualization, however you want, but you want to focus, you want to let yourself wander to that thing that you want to focus on. Ram Dass talked about how easy it was to meditate in the temple. And he said, if I could meditate in the noisiest place on earth and still be able to meditate, I would know that I have mastered this. So he decided to test it out. He went on to a street corner in New York City with all the blaring, all the noises that happen on a street in New York City. You know, you have horns honking, you have people, you know, yelling and chattering and laughing, and you have all that activity going on. And he was able to meditate on that street corner. And so he proved to himself that he had mastered meditation. And so what we say with meditation is that it doesn't have to be a place where you are completely secluded. It doesn't have to be a place where everything is calm and perfect. You know, you can meditate anywhere doing anything except for driving. I don't recommend you do it driving. It's not safe because you do get in an altered state and you might miss something. And so when we teach meditation to people, what we're teaching them is to focus on that relationship that you have with the God within you. See, we don't believe that there's a power for good and a power for evil. The reason we say that is if the power for evil was greater than the power of good, you would see no good in the world. And if they were equal, they would cancel each other out. So we have to come to the awareness or the decision that God is all good and that there's nothing to oppose that good. And so when we're doing our meditation, we are focused on the power of that. We are focused on knowing that God creates all good in our world, that our world is good. And the more we can do that, the less we see the darkness, the less we see, the war in Ukraine, the war in Israel, the COVID thing, even with my husband's death. It's just how you lift yourself out of all of that is affirmation, meditation, and prayer, right? Those are the three most important, I feel, spiritual practices that we need to resurrect so that we can handle these situations as they come up and not be overwhelmed by them. Not to say Faith and I weren't overwhelmed. We were, but we were also able to stay in the present moment and appreciate that all the years that we had with him. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our prayer. Our prayer is not a beseeching prayer. Most of us have been raised with a beseeching kind of prayer. And in religious science, we don't say that. In religious science, we say it's spiritual mind treatment is what we call it. And you wanted to just stretch and say hi to everybody? Is that what you're doing? Say hi. That's funny. That's the first time she's wanted to appear on camera. This is Chica Marie, for those of you who don't know you. So we call it spiritual mind treatment, and that's because we're treating our consciousness. And again, we can't do that for someone else unless they're asking for it. It's not our business what someone else is doing or thinking or feeling or experiencing. The only thing we can do is if someone asks for a prayer, we can then do a prayer for them. But again, we're not doing that just because we feel like it or because we want to change somebody else. We can't do that. We can't, everybody has free will, so we can't do that. Let me grab the religious science symbol real quick. And this is our teaching symbol. And so when we're talking about spiritual mind treatment, what we're basically saying is this, that we are declaring the truth instead of beseeching God to act on our behalf. Now, on our teaching symbol, you see the circle is the unbroken unity of God. No beginning, no end, all connecting to everything. So this is where we say we are all one. Now, you can't really dissect God into three parts, but for purposes of teaching, in order for people to understand, we have separated it out into three parts so that we can explain the process of creation a little bit better. The top part of it is conscious mind. That's where our conscious ideas come from. Now, Ernest Holmes, Dr. Ernest Holmes, our founder, used to say, there's a power for good in the universe and you can use it. And I disagree with that statement. There is a power for good in the universe and we can use it consciously. I think he left out that part, assuming that people would understand what he meant. But it's a conscious use of that creative force that allows us to create consciously what we want in our lives. So the top part is that conscious mind where all ideas stem from. The middle portion is what I was saying earlier about the subjective mind, where you have stored all the experiences and all your reactions to the experiences, kind of like a hard drive in a computer. And it's difficult to get past that subjective material if we have stuff in there that is counteracting what we're saying. So, for instance, remember when I was talking about the affirmations, I said, if you've been in poverty for 20 years, that middle portion is what is going to be accepting the impress of our thought about that, so that when we have a conscious affirmation, let's put it that way, or even a spiritual mind treatment, when we say, I am now receiving $10,000 a month or more income, the subjective mind pipes up and goes, no, you're not. You don't deserve it. You can't have it. That isn't possible, whatever it is. And so we then have to rearrange the conscious idea again, like we do with the affirmations, to counteract that. For instance, we then start to treat on deserving. I now deserve to have that kind of abundance. You see what I'm saying? And then, so the third part of that then becomes the form, or whatever it is that we want to experience. What we're creating is that form. Now, when God creates, it's like, there's a conscious idea of human, and in the middle portion there is the God stuff, the material with which God uses to build a human. And then the form is the human. In our consciousness, those are experiences we want to have. We have the conscious idea. Like in my beginner class, what we do is we use either silly putty or what do you call it? Play-Doh. And we build something, create it out of our minds. What do we want to create? We just meditate for a moment, figure out what we want to create, and then we present to the class the form. And then we bunch it back up so that we understand that, it goes through from conscious mind into subjective mind, into form, and then returns back to the nothingness from which it came. And that's what our creations do. So in the subjective mind, it's like that silly putty or that Play-Doh that we're creating from. And then, or not creating from, creating through. And then we have this form, and it then returns back to the nothingness from which it came. Not to say that there isn't some permanence in the universe. There is permanence with God, but there is no permanence with ideas or creations, right? Those always disappear at some point, and that's okay, because that allows us to create new ones. When we have created something we don't like, that is the ability to say, I don't want this, I would rather have this, so we can uncreate that and create something else. So it's a good thing. So the 5 steps of treatment are recognition. And I recognize that there is only one God, that there is only one power for good in the universe, that God is in and through all and is all powerful, all love, all abundance, all prosperity, all health. There's a divine blueprint in God for health, right? This is where we recognize all of that stuff. The second thing is unification. The second step is unification. And that's where we recognize that that same power flows through us, because we are one in God. That is who and what we are, our very essence, our very life, our very being, right? So that's unification. The next step is, and if we're doing prayer for someone else, not that I expect you to be doing that, but our practitioners do. Once we unify ourselves, we unify the other person, because we know that same power that flows through us flows through them as well. And one of my favorite things to use is that we are guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that is God flowing through us, because we do tap into that ancient wisdom. And so then the third step is realization. And that the first 2 steps are like centering and meditation. The third step is more like an affirmation. When I teach this, what I say is do half a page, or a quarter page at the very least, of the first step, a quarter page of the second step. The third step is going to be 1 or 2 sentences, and it's just an affirmation, an I am statement. I am now feeling love in a relationship where I'm valued and we are equal, or whatever, however you want to say that. Or we can say, I am now receiving $10,000 a month or more in income. Or we can say, I am now experiencing the divine blueprint of health that lives through God in my everyday life. And you might tack on, I can do whatever I choose to do, and my body will be able to, right? Okay, so that's the realization step. Then we have one little itty bitty phrase for the Thanksgiving step, which is, I am so grateful that this is done. We don't go pick up what we're grateful for. I don't say, I'm grateful for all this prosperity. I'm grateful for this love. I'm grateful for this health. We don't do that. We say, I'm grateful that this is done and to be of service in this world. I mean, that's how I do it. Not necessary for you to do it, because you may not necessarily be in service to the world that way. But that's just it, that one little statement. And then finally, release. And release is so important. It's just, excuse me, it is the most important thing, I think. Well, they're all very important. But if you do all of those other steps and you don't release, then the prayer is not complete. For instance, Dr. Fred Vogt, one of my mentor ministers, used to say, we don't plant a seed in the soil and then go, oh, it's been 5 minutes. Let me dig it up and see how far it's grown. And yet with our spiritual practice, we do that. We do a prayer and then we go, it's been 5 minutes. I don't see a result. Oh, it's been another 5 minutes. I don't know what's wrong. And we go through that whole process. When we finally release, we just say, and I let go and let God, or and so it is. You don't have to say amen. I do it here because there are a lot of people for whom amen is the end of a prayer. And so I want to make sure that I can say amen to satisfy their end of statement. But all we really need is, and so it is. And so I let it be, and so it is. Or however you want to do that, but it's just one or two little statements. It's not. And then every time you think about the issue, you go, nope, it's dealt with. Doesn't mean you can't pray again if you want to. But the thing is that you don't want to keep focusing on that it hasn't happened yet. And so when you keep doing prayer, you're basically saying it hasn't happened yet. So you want to just go, no, that's dealt with it. You know, God is in charge. God's making this happen. Everything's fine, right? So this week, would you do this with me? Will you resurrect your spiritual practice doing affirmations 100 times a day, staying in the present moment as if it has already happened or is happening right now, using powerful words, and saying them 100 times a day. Sometimes even doing them in the mirror and looking at yourself while you're doing them is a good thing. You don't want to do it rote. You don't want to say, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. You want to say, I am now wealthy. You see, want to get into that feeling. The vehicle are the words. The gas is the emotion that fuels that vehicle. All right. The second thing this week, I want you to start doing meditation, 5 to 6 minutes a day. If you think you don't have time to meditate, you will be amazed to find that when you are meditating 5 or 6 minutes a day, you actually have more time than you thought you did for the rest of the day. It's pretty interesting. You get into an altered state and everything seems to work. The third thing is to do spiritual mind treatment. For those of you who are new to this, if you need the 5 steps written out for you, I am happy to provide that for you. You just DM me and I will make sure that you get that, or DM Faith and she'll make sure you get it, whichever way you want to go. And we'll make sure that you have what you need to be able to do spiritual mind treatment for yourself. All right. Will you do that with me this week? Will you participate? Thank you. Let's have a prayer. Power, the infinite presence of God, to that place within me that knows beyond human understanding just how powerful God is, how amazing God is, how beautiful God expresses in its immenseness. Our human awareness cannot even imagine how immense that power of God is. All-knowing, all-powerful, all-experiencing, all-being. And that is where I find myself, in the midst of God, my very essence, my very life, my very being. It is who and what I am, and every thought, every action, every deed is guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through me. It is that which moves me. It is that which lives itself through me. And so I know that same truth to be so for this team that God has sent for me to manage. For we are one in that infinite power, that infinite presence of God, and that same ancient wisdom of the ages flows through us and leads us and guides us to what we need to do. I know that same truth to be so for every person who is here today, whether that be in real time or later on, because I do know that all are connected. There's no place where one leaves off and the other begins, and all of us are guided and led by that ancient wisdom of the ages that flows through us. We are all one. Mitakuios and all my brethren, we are connected. And so I bless this coming week with experiences that show us the spiritual person that we are, spiritual being that we are. As we do our affirmations and our meditation and our prayer, as we do all of that work, we are rewarded with an experience of just how connected we are to that infinite power, that infinite presence of God. As we cultivate that relationship, everything in our world gets better and better. And so I call that the blessing of the week, and I experience it as done for all of us. I know that every name that is in the ministry of prayer right now has that same infinite power, that same infinite presence running through their life, so that whatever they're experiencing, God is the answer. And I now pull back the veil and reveal that truth here and now. I claim that good in their name. And so my heart just fills with gratitude to know that this is so, to let it be so, and to be of service in this way. And I just let it be. And so it is. Amen.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world.
Oops, I had it on full screen and I couldn't see you all of a sudden. I was like, oh no, how do I get there? I'm really out of practice just from taking a month off. Excuse me. I've been doing a lot of crying, so of course I have a lot of coughing. Now is our time to receive your gifts, tithes, and offerings, and your opportunity to experience gratitude for that which you have already received in the physical realm. Or perhaps you have not yet received it in the physical realm, but you have created it in the mind of God, and it is now working its way through to the physical realm. So in a moment, I'm going to have you go to www.oasiscsl.org. And about 2/3 down the page, I'll have you do this offering affirmation with me. And then underneath that is a Contribute Now button. But let me just address the Contribute Now real quick, because you need to know what it is you're contributing to, right? So in a facility, you have rent and utilities and, you have all these expenses, which we don't have because we're online only. But we do market to the entire world. We have a vision of a healed world, and that's global. And our mission is to heal the world one person at a time, again, globally. And so it costs money to market for that. So when you press on that contribute now button and you provide us with some money, we use that to reach out to the world so that we can fulfill our vision through our mission. So that's what you're contributing to. So please go with me right now, whether you're in real time or later on, to www.oasiscsl.org. And about 2/3 down the page, say this offering affirmation with me. This perfect gift is spirit and form, circulating and blessing all it touches. Freely I give and joyously I receive. And so it is. All right, hit that contribute now button and help us get to our vision through our mission. All right. I used to do this it just flowed. Now I have to check all my notes and everything. It's kind of funny. Real different. All right. So first, let me say that we have this wonderful team of licensed practitioners from coast to coast who serve our ministry of prayer, which we call our God Squad. And they serve in 3 different ways. The first way is obviously when you want prayer for something, they will pray with you. And they pray on those requests every day for a week. So if you would like prayer for something, put it in the comment section. If you don't want it to be public, you can DM Faith and she will make sure our God Squad gets your prayer request. But they will pray on that day, every day for a week for you. The second way that they serve is by providing spiritual guidance in a session by appointment for a fee. So you contact them through Facebook. You can look them up on our website, get information about our practitioners, and then contact them through Facebook. And they will let you know how to pay for the session. We don't get involved in that. They own their own businesses. So whether that's PayPal or Wise or Venmo or Zelle, Cash App, I don't get involved in that. So they'll let you know how to pay for it. And then they will contact you by video chat at the appointed time. The third way our practitioners serve is by being practitioner of the day, meaning they do an invocation and a benediction, and then they're available at the end for our 1-minute miracle. It's not a time for counseling. It's not a time for spiritual guidance. It's just a time where you can let them know whatever it is that you're experiencing, and they will stop, drop, and pray with you right then and there. Today, our practitioner of the day almost always is Oz. So he's available at the end for the 1-minute miracle. All right. And I already mentioned Brooks and Bailey, but let me just remind you that they have mala bead necklaces and bracelets. They have all kinds of other jewelry too. But I always like to talk about the mala beads because they're so important to a spiritual practice. So you can reach them through Brooks and Bailey 0307@gmail.com or their own Facebook page. I try to, if they're going to be at an event with their booth or something, I always try to share that on my page as well. And all the proceeds go to Rocky Mountain Lab Rescue, which is a very worthy cause. So definitely check these ladies out. This necklace is amethyst, so it's $60. But they have all different kinds of gemstones that are $30 and up for the necklaces. If I remember right, I think she said they're $20 or $15 for the bracelets, but they can let you know that. Then we have an Etsy store with Angel Renee, who has intention candles and an intention tea bag that you stick in your bath water with aromatic herbs that help you focus on your intention. It's just another way to ease or to assist in your spiritual practice. Then we have Reverend Fairy Lane Silver. Her music, couldn't do music without these 2 ladies on Sunday. Every time we try to do contemporary music, either Facebook shuts down the music or YouTube does. And so these ladies have given us our permission to use their music. And actually, Reverend Fairy Lane Silver really wants us to use it. She really encourages us to use it. She's also on Spotify, Alexa, all of that kind of stuff. Anyway, her website, she can't update it to tell you how to pay for it. And she travels around the United States singing, and she carries the CDs in her car. So you just go on the website, decide which CD you want to use, you want to buy, and just email her and let her know. She'll tell you how to pay for it, and then she'll send them out. She's really good about sending them out right away. The second one is Karen Drucker. Now, Karen Drucker's website does work. She's gifted us with her entire collection of music, of 20 CDs worth of music. Faith. And her website does work, so you can pay for it right then and there. You can buy it by the song, by the CD. There's karaoke files. There's a songbook. Some of the songbooks have American Sign Language. If you didn't realize that's what Faith was doing when she was singing that song, there's some songs that you can get from Karen Drucker that have the sign language in them in the songbook. So definitely check these ladies out. We like to support those who support us. And again, you can purchase it right there on her website. And then check out our website at oasiscsl.org. We have put our project on hold. I'm not sure when we're going to start working on it again. So we're not quite up to date with the audio sermons and video sermons, but there are pictures of all of our people in picnics and ordinations and all kinds of events that we had, so you can get to know your spiritual family. And for the videos, we are on YouTube under S. Tucker. For the last 4 years, we have video sermons. For the audios prior to those 4 years, those are on SoundCloud, and everything is under S. Tucker. So check it all out and keep checking with us. I promise you we are going to get that updated sooner or later. But we just had to take a little bit of time off, so that has not gotten done. So without further ado, I'm going to let Oz pray us out here. You're muted.
And I know right here, right now, that God's presence is in us, as us, and all around us. And I know that that presence is wherever we are. And I know that there are blessings that are unfolding right around the corner. And I let them unfold with perfection and grace. And I give thanks that it is so. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much for being here. I know there's 1,000 things you could be doing on a Sunday morning, and we're blessed to have you here with us, especially on an Easter day. So go forth and have a great Easter, whether you're doing Easter eggs or whatever you're doing. Just enjoy. Just have a great day. We love you. Be here next week and every week at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Time. We look forward to seeing you then. Bye.